Welcome back, everyone, to a brand new episode of Screenplay Rewind. I'm Jeff.
I'm Ron.
And how you been doing, buddy?
Been doing pretty good. Been a few days since we discussed a movie.
Yeah, it actually threw me off that we were recording again already, because typically we record every other weekend, and we had our little bonus recording session for Wonder Woman 2. Or, excuse me, Wonder Woman 1984 asterisk.
It
because
did
1984
feel like
didn't have shit all to do with it.
It did feel like the 84th entry in a series.
It's a solid burn you got there, buddy.
I thought of it
All
after
right.
we stopped recording that one. Like, God
I know.
damn it.
Funny story. What always happens? Me and Ryan will like sit down for an hour to an hour and a half, or 5, depending on whatever we're recording, and how long we go, because we can just ramble on about shit for a long fucking time, as anyone who actually listens to us knows. We'll like stop the recording, and then immediately there's just like 3 or 4 like good one-liners, 3 or 4 good like synopses of the movie, and just like all the good material happens off of the recording. It's super depressing.
It just floods in too. It's like as soon as you hit the stop button and you relax, it just all.
Yep. And this week we are covering Hollywood Homicide as our film. Would you like to intro the film since it was your selection, Ron?
Hollywood Homicide. It was released in 2003. Stars Harrison Ford and Josh Hartnett, which when I originally heard that pairing, I was like, what an odd, strange pairing. Bruce Greenwood, Isaiah Washington, which kind of disappeared after a while. Keith David, and cameo by Andre 3000 and several other rap artists.
Several other Academy Award-winning actors.
Yeah.
So I thought the same thing. I was like, whatever happened to Isaiah Washington?
A shocking cameo by Lou Diamond Phillips must be mentioned.
Anthony Mackie is in a fucking cameo role too. Did you catch him in the movie?
Yeah, Joker is his name.
I saw it's a 25-year-old Anthony Mackie. I was like, is that Anthony Mackie? Is that the fucking Falcon in Hollywood Homicide? And he gets fucking killed in like 2 seconds. So I was like, oh.
As soon as he walked in, I was like, that's Falcon. And Christina was like, yeah.
It's so weird to see people like in these itty-bitty roles before they hit big, and they're just in the movie for half a second. You're like, I don't remember this person existing, because before you have a name to the face and know them in future roles, they're just a supporting character until they're not,
I encourage everyone to look up Zodiac on IMDb. Like half of that cast is in the MCU right now.
Oh yeah, Zodiac.
It came out in
Downey,
2007.
It's Mark Ruffalo, Jake Gyllenhaal,
Yeah.
And Isaiah Washington, actually, I thought he disappeared too. He went on to Grey's Anatomy for like 30 years because that show is still going for some reason. So that's where he went.
Gotcha. Keith David. Did I mention Keith David? Always mention
Keith
David.
I love me some Keith David, dude. We will be covering They Live at some point, which is probably my favorite Keith David movie. Have you ever seen They Live?
No, I have not.
It's the John Carpenter movie where they have the glasses that reveal like what they're actually seeing is like alien propaganda and shit.
Oh, I've heard of it. Yeah, I know about it, but no, I've never seen it. It's been on my list.
Keith David. The main 2 characters are Roddy Piper and Keith David, dude, in a fucking John Carpenter movie.
Is that the movie, the bubblegum quote?
Yeah.
Yes.
Kick ass and chew bubblegum.
Yes.
And I'm all out of bubblegum. Yeah, you gotta watch it. That
wasn't even in the
viewing.
script. It's the only bit of trivia I know about that movie.
Yep. It's so fucking good. And it's a John Carpenter movie, so it immediately gets a boost in at least like 2-star ratings just because it's John Carpenter for me. You know me.
Yeah.
But yeah, why don't we go ahead and jump on in? So my first thing I made a note of to talk about is I think the opening scene of this movie is actually really great. So the movie opens up with
spoilers.
Yes, full spoilers galore. Please have watched the movie.
Please have watched the movie, especially this movie. I love this movie. It doesn't get enough love.
We have full spoilers on every single thing we talk about, so please keep that in mind if you ever do stick around. The main 2 characters, it's Harrison Ford, who plays Sergeant Joe Gavlin.
Great detective name.
Yeah, it really is. Josh Hartnett plays his partner, Detective Casey Calden. And so they're at their recertification exam for firearms. They're both detectives, and Harrison Ford is just a crack shot. He can't miss he just casually puts like 5 rounds on his headshot target, and then just switches and does like a 3-shot grouping on the fucking chest, just like Army sniper level, just marksman, and then Josh Hartnett can't hit the broadside of a barn. He's missed half of his shots.
I love this scene. This
is a fantastic opening.
Is an amazing opening. It tells you everything you need to know about both characters and the relationship.
Yeah.
Well, they don't even talk. They have earplugs in. They're firing handguns.
Yeah, it's brilliant. So they have so much character exposition without saying a word, like Ron said, because Josh Hartnett, he's basically closing his eyes and wincing with every gunshot, and you start to gather already this isn't really for him. Like he's a cop, but almost by default, just because we later learn that his father was a cop who was killed in action, and that kind of essentially drove his character to pursue this career path that he's now having second thoughts about.
Well, not only that, like the scene is only a couple of minutes long, and your first suspicion is just inexperience, right? He's young and he's flinching with every gunshot. But like you said, even though it's only a couple of minutes, as it goes on, you start getting the feeling that like he doesn't even want to be there.
Yeah. And as he's missing his shots, and he's bad enough to literally lose his firearm recertification, Harrison Ford notices what's happening because he's in like the range next to him.
Is there anyone with a better range of facial expressions than Harrison Ford?
I don't think so.
The guy can say anything and everything without opening his mouth.
Yeah, and he's also just got the best irritated look in the history of cinema.
Even when he's happy, he looks just like so annoyed.
Yep. So Harrison Ford notices that that Josh Hartnett has missed like all of these fucking shots by a mile. So he does like a grouping in the chest that like just enough to get him certified, and then Josh Hartnett says, like, thanks, Joe. And this tells you, like he said, so much about their characters. It not only talks about Josh Hartnett's character, but it also reinforces the fact that Harrison Ford essentially looks at this kid, this young detective, as almost like a son to him. Like he's very fatherly and protective of him.
Kind of, yeah. Like I get the feeling that like he looks at him as like a son, but also like a son that was kind of dumped in his lap at the same time. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like he doesn't hate the guy, but he's just kind of like at everything he says and does. Yeah,
it's great stuff. I absolutely love how much.
The only line in the whole scene is just,
"Thanks, Joe."
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, it's good stuff. This is like a little bit like we were talking about in the Logan Lucky episode, where C. Robert Cargill talks about this a lot in his writing podcasts. If you're writing a script, your first pass through on the script is basically writing down everything that you think has a purpose, and then your second pass through on the script is adding basically killing two birds with one stone in every scene. So you start to not only like chip away stuff when you're editing your scripts, but you also start to like pile on like second meanings and getting as much use out of like the real estate of screen time that you have. And that's what I get the feeling like this opening scene and stuff like that, when you start having all of these different layers that you can delve into in a simple scene where nothing is even being said. Like there's a lot of work that goes into a scene with very little dialogue that people don't really think about.
I don't think we even went into who directed and wrote it.
Yeah, you want to go ahead and relay the IMDb page?
Names that I don't know off of the top of my head, but it's Ron Shelton and Robert Souza. And Ron Shelton is known for, it looks like he's written the screenplay and story. He's got a credit on that for Bad Boys 2, Hollywood Homicide. I mean, Play It to the Bone, Tin Cup. They kind of go all over the place, but they're all kind of different stuff. Under Fire is one that says he's written. And then for directing credits, he's got Hollywood Homicide, Tin Cup, and Play It to the Bone.
His most notable works were his first couple of movies, White Men Can't Jump and Bull Durham. He actually got an Oscar nomination for Bull Durham.
And Robert Souza, this is his only writing credit and his only producer credit, and then he's done some TV stuff.
Yeah, so it's a little bit off character for Ron Shelton, just looking back, because Bull Durham and White Men Can't Jump are very they're dramas, and they have that kind of flair of comedy like you see in Hollywood Homicide, but they were primarily like sport movies. So he seems to have kind of drifted off and done a little bit of everything over time.
Yeah, it's a wide variety, but yeah, it just seems like it's a little off for both of them, and I don't know. I just, like I said a couple of times already, I just love this movie.
It's atypical for a lot of the people.
Yeah.
In this movie, this is not your prototypical Harrison Ford movie. This is not your prototypical Josh Hartnett movie.
And it's worth saying, at least to me, Josh Hartnett is one of those actors that pisses me off because there are times that you see he's got it and he can act, but most of the time it's like he just can't find it, or whoever's in charge of the project can't bring it out of him.
Have you ever watched Black Hawk Down?
Black Hawk Down is amazing. He's amazing in this. He's amazing in The Faculty.
Yeah,
like, he's got a long list of stuff. He's good.
30 Days of Night. He's awesome in 30 Days of Night.
I always forget he's in that. I always forget he's in that.
I really like him in 30 Days of Night.
But
another side character I don't think we mentioned, Dwight Yoakam makes a back-to-back, or almost a back-to-back Screenplay Rewind appearance, because he was we
don't have a homicide problem in Hollywood.
he was the ward in Logan Lucky, and he's
awesome in this. This is what I know him from. Every time I see him, I think of this movie. Yeah,
he's a really cool character. He plays an enforcer for the main villain, and he's pretty awesome.
God, he's fucking cold in this.
So the opening scene of the film that kind of like sets up the plot after you have this intro to the main two leads is there is a rap group that's playing at a nightclub in the middle of Hollywood, and the place gets shot up with submachine guns, and there ends up being, I think it's a total of like 4 or 5 people that get shot. The entire band is pretty much wiped out, right? Like I don't think any members of the band make it out alive.
The band was the target. They did not survive.
Yeah.
They called themselves H2O Click. Don't ask me why.
Don't ask me why. So after this club's shot up, they call in Hartnett and Harrison Ford to investigate it. And I fucking love the little bit with Harrison Ford. Every time he walks into a crime scene, has to have a cheeseburger ordered exactly the way he wants it. That's cool. He's walking across the crime scene, and it looks like he's about to relay some really important investigative information to Josh Hartnett. Write this down. And Harrison Ford is just like hamming it up, just chewing all the scenery, and it's awesome. And then he's like, okay, raw onions, cheeseburger.
Well done.
It just goes all
and
of
then
the
poor officer that brings the burger back. What is this? You call this a burger? I see mayo. Did I say mayo? Check your notes. Is this lettuce that someone tried to scrape off?
Yeah, he's like, I'm so sorry, sir. Don't call me sir. I work for a living.
You want to be a cop when you grow up, son? You want to be a detective?
The thing I love most about Harrison Ford is Harrison Ford can walk up against anybody and shit talk them so well that I don't feel like it's acting anymore at that point for the person in the scene with them. I feel like if Harrison Ford was yelling at me like that, I would also be pissing my pants, dude. Like,
he's got a few scenes with Bruce Greenwood later that are just legendary.
Yeah. Oh, I also like... Dude, Bruce Greenwood is one of the most underrated people in Hollywood.
Oh, I know.
He's so good, and it's such a shame because he has so much range too. Like in this, he plays a total cunt. He's so unlikable in this movie. But then you watch something like Star Trek, and he's like your favorite uncle. It's like, man, he's so good.
In iRobot, I kept wanting to say I Am Legend. They both start with I, and they're both Will Smith. In iRobot, you hate him so much, and you're so stunned and kind of sad that he's dead when they do the reveal. I don't know how he pulls off both of those.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's also a submarine movie starring Bruce Greenwood.
There's also The Core.
There's this submarine movie. Let's see. Go ahead and vamp on something for a second while I look this up, because I really want to, because it's a really cool movie that I think people should check out. Look at Bruce Greenwood.
So as they're walking around the club and gathering evidence, KC finds a diamond earring laying on the in the side of the walkway, and that's when Harrison Ford kind of comes from the other side, and he points out, based on everything that he's seeing, one shooter came from this end of the hall, And Josh Hartnett's like, and the other one came from this side. And he's like, this poor son of a bitch got it from both sides. And then when they go into a storeroom, they find a puddle of piss in the back corner where they realize they have a witness that at least lived long enough to piss himself before he probably died somewhere else or escaped. So now they've got a possible witness to the crime out in Hollywood somewhere that they need to find.
Yep. Oh, real quickly, I did find the movie. So the name of it is from 2002. It's called Below. Bruce Greenwood is the captain. He's the captain of a World War II submarine, and weird shit starts going on the submarine, and you think it's haunted, and you're trying to like figure out, is this legit like haunting where this submarine is actually like having supernatural events occur, or are the dudes just like going crazy from cabin fever? And it's just really cool because, dude, I'm a sucker for like submarine movies. I don't know if I've ever talked about that, but like I love really like Hunt for Red October, Crimson Tide. I like submarine movies.
Did you ever see Hunter Killer?
I have not.
I have not either. We might have to add that to our list for both of us.
It's one of the reasons I like Wrath of Khan so much, the second Star Trek movie, because the second Star Trek movie plays out like a super intense submarine movie, and it's
interesting,
really fucking cool.
Yeah, Bruce Greenwood,
the original Star Trek.
Bruce Greenwood, also very underrated voice of Batman.
Yeah, he's in the Red Hood one, right?
Yep. And I want to say he did another one too.
He's Batman and Young Justice, at least before the relaunch happened.
He wasn't
third season.
He wasn't Batman in Justice League Doom, was he?
Maybe.
Fuck, now I have to look it up.
I don't remember. But another little character quirk with Harrison Ford that I really like, that in this first scene when they're investigating the crime, I like how he walks in and he does this little like lean down to like go in like a kneeling position to kind of take in the scene. And then Josh Hartnett does the same thing, because Josh Hartnett kind of knows what he's doing and, finds evidence throughout the movie that they need. So he's not bad at his job, but he's not a super cop like Harrison Ford is. Harrison Ford is a fucking awesome detective in this. He is so good about
he wants
quickly
to be
analyzing.
Gavilan when he grows up, essentially. Yeah. By the way, it is, in fact, Kevin Conroy in Justice League Doom.
Gotcha.
I was wrong.
So, one thing I really quickly wanted to talk about is this movie did not review very well with critics. It only has, I think, a 30% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I think part of the reason people had such like a problem with this movie is they didn't really get what they were going for. Because as I was watching this movie, I found the first hour of it kind of slow, but then once I just kind of realized that like what the approach they were taking towards this movie is kind of like Columbo or Monk or like Murder, She Wrote type of thing, where the mystery and like the crime isn't the point of the movie.
Right.
It's just like it's just an excuse to drive the narrative for the characters. Because Harrison Ford's character and Josh Hartnett are the movie. You're supposed to go along for the ride with them and then just like their characters. Because like the people that were watching those shows that I mentioned, like Monk and Columbo, Murder, She Wrote, they weren't watching it for the crimes. They were watching because they liked the characters and they liked seeing the characters like go through the motions of their own crimes and like crime solving and everything. And I think that's what this feels like a throwback that people didn't really get.
Yeah. It also feels maybe you can help me with this. I've been trying to nail it down since I watched it. I watched it just last night. The directing style and the writing style feels like someone else that I couldn't nail down, and the only name coming to mind is David Lynch. But I don't know if it's Lynch, because David Lynch is known for going very experimental and just kind of off the wall. Right, but there's someone that's kind of like that has a noted style that this feels like, and I could not come up for the life of me.
The closest person I could probably come up with personally is it feels a little bit like a Tony Scott movie with some of the editing. Like Tony Scott does kind of quick cut. Like what it came across to me is adding to the throwback mentality. It has editing that more closely resembles like a 45-minute TV show than like a movie. Yeah. And I think that's intentional. I think this was meant to play like a TJ Hooker episode or a Columbo episode, like it's just a little, popcorn flick of a crime drama that has, likable leads.
But yeah, like you said, that it is worth noting that the crime itself is a vehicle for the movie to progress along, and Josh Hartnett and Harrison Ford are on screen about 90% of the movie.
Yeah.
You very rarely leave them. And you start going into like how they're both detectives. Neither one of them want that job.
We need to talk about Harrison Ford spends half the movie on the phone trying to close a real estate sale, because it's also a really cool thing, because 99% of the time when you have one of these types of movies where it's all about like two cops investigating a crime, it is the notion that these cops are obsessed, and that's like they live, breathe this work, and they're just knee deep in it, and it's like they're obsessed.
That's the first thing that grabbed my attention about this movie the first time I saw it. I saw this in theaters with my mother, and the first thing that grabbed my attention was how different of a take that is. And I don't know, I don't watch a whole lot of drama or detective stuff. That may be a common thing now. In 2003, everyone, eats, sleeps, and breathes the law. They are all super cops. And you just didn't see a cop that doesn't care to be a cop or is trying to quit being a cop.
What became the formula is Law and Order, where you have these people who are just obsessed with the crime. All they care about is solving this crime. Harrison Ford and Josh Hartnett couldn't give less of a shit about this murder investigation. I love that they picked the single most annoying fucking ringtone in the universe for Harrison Ford's phone to accentuate how many fucking times he is called in this movie. It was like, that ringtone.
Well, that's the default ringtone for that phone, I'm pretty sure. But do you know what KC's made me think of every time his went off?
What?
In PUBG, the C4 makes the do-do-do-do-do-do, and then it explodes like that. It sounds exactly like that, which sounds exactly like Jurassic Park 3 when the Allosaurus eats the satellite phone, and they know it's nearby every time they hear it ring.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
It sounds like the exact same ringtone in all three of those things.
So Harrison Ford is completely focused on selling this house that he owns. He owns this like multi-million-dollar property in the middle of Hollywood Hills, and he's trying to sell it desperately. And like he always gets close, and then like the deal always falls through. So he's been trying to fucking sell this real estate.
This one is the 675, right?
Well, yeah. So
because it's the producer's house he's trying to sell for $6 or $7 million.
Yeah. So
not that that's an important detail, really, but
he has like he's kind of been slowly over time trading in real estate properties where he has like all of his eggs in this one basket in this house that he can't fucking sell in Mount Olympus. That's the first house he's trying to sell, and then the one he ends up actually focusing on throughout the film is the like the former producer's house, like the multi-million-dollar one. But he needs this real estate deal to go through, or he's like fucking broke. Like at one point, his like fucking car gets repoed because he's so behind on all of his bills.
Which is a great scene, also. No, it's okay. It's insured. So Christina just started laughing. She's over here playing. Almost said Sims, but 2 Point Hospital. So let's talk about the way they also introduce these characters. So we had the opening scene. It tells you everything you need to know about their personalities, right? Then they go back to the office. They can't focus at the office, so Harrison Ford says, "Let's go get a drink." They go to the bar, and at the bar, you get everything you need to know about Harrison Ford from there, and later from Bruce Greenwood. He adds more details later, and you find out that Harrison Ford is a detective. He's got 3 alimonies. 2 children, and every penny he owns is tied up in this house that he cannot sell. And he's just absolutely desperate to make a buck.
Yep.
And you find that out, everything about him, in 3 separate scenes through 3 different methods. First-hand, second-hand, and just observation.
Mm-hmm.
How many movies do you know introduce a character throughout the movie in 3 different scenes, 3 different ways?
in a cop drama. It's
In a
very
cop
this
drama.
This movie is very like I like this movie, but this movie is very bizarrely constructed and conceptually to where I kind of get why it didn't really hit with audiences, because it's such like a peculiar, like I can't put my finger on this movie. While I like it, it is a little bit off kilter.
I don't think it's aimed at general audience. It almost seems like it's more aimed at people that strictly live or have lived in Hollywood.
Yeah. Oh, the opening scene is really cool, where they have the super edit with like all the different Hollywood signs. I actually dig that a lot.
I forgot about that.
So we quickly, since we've talked about Harrison Ford, we need to talk a little bit more about Josh Hartnett. So a big reason behind Josh Hartnett not having his heart in the investigation is that he doesn't want to be a cop anymore at all. He has, like I talked about earlier, we find out later in the film, his father was killed in action while being a police officer, so that's kind of spurned him along this career path. He doesn't really want to do it. What his passion is acting. He's all throughout the film trying to get people they run into and friends and colleagues to go and see his show that he's about to be playing. He's putting on a Broadway production, like a little play of The Streetcar Named Desire, where he's playing the Marlon Brando role.
Stella!
And all he can Stella. And all throughout the movie, he's like going over lines with Harrison Ford while Harrison Ford is trying to
driving down the car and Harrison Ford's got the script and he's doing the script reading.
I love that they're both fucking cops. And Harrison Ford's like barely paying attention to the road while he's doing the Stella lines for him, and they're reading. It's really funny.
No. You skipped a bunch of lines. Oh my god. And then I'm just gonna jump ahead with this real quick since we're talking about it. At the end, when you see him performing the play and Harrison Ford under his breath is going line for line with him.
Yeah. And then a guy tries to get up and leave. He's like, God, this guy sucks. And Harrison Ford's like, sit down, show some respect, or I'll kick your ass. That's where he's like, he's very fatherly of Josh Hartnett, especially by the end of the movie.
Especially by the end of the movie. Because they say at the bar that they've been partners for 4 months, and this case is the one that kind of bonds them. Yeah. Although they clearly they have something of a bond.
They have something of a bond initially,
I think they have a bond as partners. I think they're legit friends at the end of the movie. Because
if Harrison Ford disliked him or didn't at least like him a little bit, he wouldn't have helped him pass his recertification, because that gives you an easy out to get a new partner. So he clearly likes Josh Hartnett, and Josh Hartnett clearly likes Harrison Ford because he's a fucking super cop, and everyone in the force respects him.
I just realized what his attitude reminds me of at the beginning of that opening scene. It's like that scene in The Witcher when he rides by the caravan being raided and they're all screaming help, and he just keeps riding and doesn't look back, but he's just sitting there like, and then he stops and listens to them like screaming for help for a minute and just goes, ah, fuck. And then he turns his horse around and rides back. Yeah. That's his whole attitude throughout the first third of this movie is just, oh, shit. And then he goes and helps him.
And I think part of the reason why, obviously, the real estate thing is the main thing that's distracting Harrison Ford. I think part of his character motivation for not being involved in the case mentally and like not being in it is he's such a good cop. He's almost like bored by the job now because he's so good at it. It's one of those things where it's like
he doesn't have the challenge anymore.
Yeah, it's no longer a challenge. It's like if you're, like a kid in elementary school and you start to, ace all of your tests, they try to put you in more advanced classes to keep you from getting bored, because if you're stagnant, you no longer try.
We just glossed over the fact that at the nightclub, when Harrison Ford is talking to the club owner, he pulls out a real estate card and gives him his card, and he finds out that the guy's living out of a hotel.
Yeah.
And then that is the house that throughout the entire movie he's trying to broker a deal on, because he finds out, he's like, what's your budget? Like, what are you willing to pay? And then he's like, I won't pay a penny over 6. And he sits there for a second. He's like, 6? And he goes, right, not a penny more. And he's like, million? And then through the whole movie, it's him trying to broker this deal, because later one of the guys they talked to is a Hollywood producer, and he wants 7 for his house, and he's trying to get them to meet.
Yeah, it's Martin Landau, who I love from Ed Wood. So I like the back and forth between the main two characters. I do think this movie probably could have been a little bit better if they had cut a little bit out of the first half of the movie, because there are long stretches of time where they're not really investigating anything, and they're also not really furthering the characters of Harrison Ford and Josh Hartnett, where I kind of like lost interest a little bit. I really do like the story element they have going, though, of Josh Hartnett started up a fucking yoga like spiritual ascension class just to have sex with his female like attendees, but then in the middle of him putting on this what was essentially an act at first of him actually
he started buying into it.
He buys into his own fucking bullshit, and he like in an earlier part of the movie when Bruce Greenwood, who is an internal affairs agent who has a vendetta against Harrison Ford, he has come across Harrison Ford's financial situation, so he's investigated the fuck out of him, trying to catch him because Harrison Ford embarrassed him publicly on an investigation a few years prior, where Bruce Greenwood went public with the press about believing he knew these people who'd committed these crimes, and Harrison Ford, being the super cop, proved him wrong and embarrassed him and humiliated him publicly. So Bruce Greenwood is now in internal affairs and has direct access to investigations that can fuck over Harrison Ford. So Bruce Greenwood has ordered a search through a search warrant of their lockers at the police station. And Harrison Ford hasn't been in his locker in several years. They don't find shit in his. But they have a right to search Josh Hartnett because he's his partner. And they open up Josh Hartnett's locker, and it's all Kama Sutra books about like sexual awakening and and sexual techniques and, you know, all this like spiritual ascension stuff.
I love Bruce Greenwood's face when the cop goes, "Huh, porno." And he's just like, "The fuck is wrong with you?"
Yeah, I and the specificity of their characters is so peculiar too. It's like Josh Hartnett is a detective who's an aspiring actor who runs a yoga class to have sex with the women in the class. And he's no longer really wanting to be a cop, but he's pretty good at it. And he likes being partners with Harrison Ford. So he's so conflicted. And it's like, I just love that they don't give a shit about their job anymore.
Right.
Because it is so atypical. Because when I think of these types of police procedurals, it's like I was talking about earlier, like they're purely obsessed with it, and it's just cool to see a different take on it. I just wish that maybe I didn't go back and watch. I wonder if like a big reasoning behind this not sticking with people is I wonder if they poorly marketed it, because this is an instance where I could see the trailers not doing a service to the movie by marketing it.
That's interesting.
In a matter to make it seem like it's going to appeal to standard audiences, but since it's such an off-the-wall movie that people were kind of taken aback by it.
Yeah, that would be interesting to go back and look at.
Because especially in this period of time, like if people have kind of come to taking trailers for granted in some instances, because a lot of Hollywood trailers are bad nowadays about spoiling shit. Mm-hmm. But in this period in time, in like the late 90s and early 2000s, movies with their trailers were not only spoiling key moments, their trailers were fucking cliff notes for the entire movie. And a really good example of this, I encourage anyone who doesn't really remember it, and even people who vaguely remember it, YouTube the trailer for Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones. That trailer for that movie, I shit you not, is a 3-minute cliff notes of the progression of the movie in order practically.
My example
they spoil
for that is,
everything.
Do they really?
Yeah.
My example for that is always The Rocketeer.
Did The Rocketeer have a bad trailer?
Well, I mean, it's a good movie, so ergo the trailer is good because it was the movie. They even spoil the twist. They spoil everything. They the twist about the Nazis at the end. They fucking show all of the Nazi blimps, and they show who is the Nazi agent. They show all of it.
That had to have been so frustrating for like Joe Johnson and the writing team.
Yeah, my go-to for that is always Rocketeer, because I watched the movie, and then I went to the special features on the DVD, and I went and watched the trailer, and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, if you really want to have your mind blown, just watch the Attack of the Clones trailer. You're just like, okay, I don't need to see the movie now because you just recap the whole fucking story in order, start to finish. Show like they spoil the Yoda fucking lightsaber thing.
Do they really?
They spoil that Count Dooku is like a Sith Lord fighting him at the end. It's just crazy, dude. They just go balls to wall with that shit.
Oh my god.
It's brutal, dude. But yeah. So I want to talk about, because I could do an entire podcast over how awesome the final chase is in this movie, because there's like a sequence of just like 5 different like car chases on foot.
Well, I was gonna say, first off, we had what is probably one of my favorite foot chases in a movie.
You talking about the one in the duck pond with Josh Hartnett?
He gets in the paddle boat and he's just paddling, and then when he falls out, it's like waist deep. And then he gets up, and he just keeps going between the two sides, and Josh Hartnett keeps taking the long way around, and then he turns around and goes back. He's like, damn it, and he has to run back. While in the background, Harrison Ford's in the car driving over the bridges. It's like Scooby-Doo running around in the hallway going from door to door.
And Josh Hartnett doesn't want to just hop in the water because the dude they're chasing is just like, man, there's so much duck shit down here. He's like, like having to like sludge through it almost like it's freaking quicksand, man. Yeah.
And then the whole thing ends with Harrison Ford just heading him off and tripping him, like flipping him. I can't believe I let myself get caught by your old ass.
Because fucking Josh Hartnett is basically ran himself to death trying to catch this guy, and Harrison Ford is always just like the dude that's one step ahead of everyone. He just cuts him off and then fucking trips him with it like a knee. Yeah, and he just goes flying.
Yeah, he's just like sitting there casually when he comes by. He just like knees him and he does like a front flip.
Yeah. So they go back and forth throughout the movie with the investigation, just kind of like pursuing leads, trying to figure this out about who had taken out this rap group.
And in the meantime, as they're pursuing leads, Harrison Ford's phone will ring about the real estate broker thing, or in the background, Josh Hartnett will be there with a tape recorder reading his lines, going over the script, trying to make like his audition tape while they're trying to solve the case. Like, is there hardly ever a time where they're both focused on it?
No, like what's really funny too is earlier on in the movie when they're still at the first investigation of the crime scene while it was still a hot crime scene. He goes up to interview the owner of the club, and like you mentioned, how he ends up being his buyer for the producer's house, but Harrison Ford starts off his conversation because he's told Josh Hartnett, I'm going to go grill the owner, and he's grilling him, asking him questions about the investigation, and the exact second he hears about him being in the market, he never brings up a fucking word about the case anymore. He no longer gives a shit about the 4 fucking dead bodies on the floor below him. They just couldn't give less of a shit.
I think
they only are focused on his real estate deal, and Judge Hartnett is only focused on his acting deal.
I think my favorite one is in the final chase near the end of the movie when he runs by as the dude walks out of a door, and as he runs by, he's like, I won't pay a penny over $6.75.
I don't think he'll go for it, but I'll make a call.
As he's running after the dude.
So before we talk about like the big final epic series of chases, I want to talk about the scene when they're the internal affairs dudes led by Bruce Greenwood have gotten enough dirt on them to bring them in for questioning, and they have them in adjoining one-way glass rooms for these interrogations that I say in air quotes.
Is that his phone?
Harrison Ford is in the left room, continuing to take phone call after phone call after phone call about the real estate back and forth.
It gets to the point, like the dude grilling him starts out very professional, but aggressive, but very professional, and just kind of like rolling his eyes anytime Harrison Ford answers the phone or anything. But it literally becomes that they both jump onto the table every time the phone rings, and when Harrison Ford grabs it, he's just like, ha, and then flips it open and takes the call. Yeah. Like it just devolves into them running around the table for the phone.
And in the adjacent interrogation room, Josh Hartnett is just practicing his yoga stretches
without saying a word, and then he ends up giving her like a massage, and she starts doing the poses with him. She talks about how she has like a super tight spot in her lower back, so he's going through stretches to help her work out her sore lower back, and then she just ends up doing the yoga poses with him.
And then she's at one point she says, Gavel next door is going to be, just at the peak of police perfection, just, being super professional about his answers. And you go back to Harrison Ford as he's dry humping the fucking one-way glass, which I probably laughed the hardest in the entire movie in that scene. I love that.
It's so off the wall for Harrison Ford. Like, I wonder if he came up with that. Like, I don't know.
That's something I could see him just... Because it feels like a lot of people are genuinely having fun during the making of the movie.
Yeah, I want to know how much of some of that stuff is how much some of that stuff they just did wasn't scripted.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also loved her when he's doing a pose and she's like, "Wow, that looks actually looks really hard." The pose looks really hard. And then she looks back at him, she's like, to do.
Yeah, because
I don't know why, but that made me laugh too.
What's also like one like weird little thing I caught. I don't know if you noticed it, but there's a couple of lines in the movie where I wonder if they spent so much time either having filmed the chase sequences early on in the production, and that's where like the majority of like their time to do multiple takes was spent, or if they just were limited on their production schedule for filming. Because there's a couple lines where Harrison Ford flubs the names of people. He actually, in that interrogation scene, if you pay attention, one of the times he answers the phone, he says Javelin instead of Gavlin for his last name.
I didn't
And
notice.
earlier on in the movie, when you know how his first house that he's trying to sell is on Mount Olympus?
Yeah.
And I shit you not, on the corner of Hercules and Achilles or whatever he said.
I thought that was hilarious.
And one of the times when he answers the phone about that, he calls it Mount Olympics instead of Mount Olympus. And I was like, did you guys not catch that on the editing room or on the... Because, like, that is stuff that you catch and you do another take on. And they just include it in the movie and just keep on going. And I just found that kind of weird. It's like, I wonder if maybe they filmed all the action sequences first and were just really crammed for time. Because that was just a weird little side thing I had noticed.
Yeah, no, I didn't notice it.
Yeah, pay attention during the Hercules and Achilles conversation early on the next time you watch it, and that interrogation scene, because he fucking flubs his own character's last name. I'm just like, oh, that's weird that that's still in the movie, but it doesn't like ruin the scene, because the scene's still fucking hysterical, just what's happening. So who's essentially their lieutenant, Keith David, is able to buy them a couple of hours right after the double interrogation happens, and they have to pretty much go on just balls to the wall offensive to get this case solved in the next 2 hours while they're still free before IA locks them back up again. And it just starts this huge chain reaction of just fucking bus chase, car chase, chase on foot. That just like, it goes on for so long, but it never gets bored because it's always just these fucking batshit bicycle chase it devolves into at one point.
And it feeds into itself in kind of a meta way too, because as it keeps going, there's like more and more helicopters in the sky. There's just like more and more shit going on revolving around this. It's on the TV.
Yeah. Oh, and then the entire time, Harrison Ford is still bartering between the fucking two guys in the real estate deal. They're having a car chase.
His phone rings, and he's sitting there like brokering the deal, hangs up, calls the other party to talk about it. I don't know if he'll go for it, but I'll give him a call. And then he hangs up and calls again.
They're in Hartnett's fucking Celine Mustang, high-speed pursuit, chasing after Isaiah Washington and Dwight Yoakam. And he answers the phone. Oh yeah, I can talk. As they're just in this high-speed, and I love how they're like real dudes at certain moments, because like Josh Hartnett goes up onto the sidewalk while he's driving in the Mustang at one point, and Harrison Ford shields his eyes, and he's like, "I can't look till you're back on the road." I love that bit, and they.
I love how finally he's like, "That's it, I've had enough. I'm driving." And then immediately wrecks it.
But Harrison Ford is such a good cop. Even when he wrecks the Mustang, he happens to bean the fucking the Escalade that's being driven by Isaiah Washington. So even when he crashes the car, he successfully ends the car chase because he just happened to crash into Isaiah Washington. and he's like, I'm sorry. Like, and I love that moment where Josh Hartnett's like, oh yeah, great driving, and Harrison Ford's like,
sorry,
so genuine. He's like, I'm sorry, man. And he gets out of the car, and they just start fucking shooting at each other in the middle of the intersection. And I love it too, because like one of the lenses in Harrison Ford's sunglasses is popped out, so he's still got half a fucking pair of sunglasses on as he's shooting at Isaiah Washington and Dwight Yoakam. And then it's kind of cool
trying to get a vehicle to continue the chase.
Yeah,
he ends up having to jack this like little girl of her bicycle that has like what's the dangly bits from the handlebar?
Oh yeah, the ribbons.
Yeah, like the ribbons, and it's got balloons tied to the back. It's like stereotypical like movie little girl bicycle, and she's like fighting to keep it. And he's just like, ah!
Yeah, he has this guttural fucking scream like, ah! Because before he does that, so he's running around trying to commandeer a vehicle, and he fucking knocks on the driver's side of this big SUV or truck or whatever, and he's like, like a Hollywood Homicide, you're like, I need to commandeer your vehicle, and it's this huge dude who just steps out. He's like a foot taller than Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford's like, whoa, and then he decides to take the bike from the little girl because like that's a cool little subversion, because in any other fucking car chase, the people are just gonna give up the car to the cop, But that dude's like, no, fuck you. I'm keeping my SUV even though you're a cop.
And then I love when KC gets the minivan. It's got the two kids and the wife still in it.
Yeah, and he's talking with the kids are freaking out, and the little boy's like, "We're gonna die, we're gonna die, we're gonna die." And Josh Hartnett, because he's super into spiritual ascension. He's like, "Well, yes, son, we are all going to die."
But it's not a bad thing.
But not right now. And it's cool too, because at that point, it divulges into two separate chases. So you have Harrison Ford, who is on the little girl's bike trying to chase after Isaiah Washington, who they have found out orchestrated the hit at the club because he was he had them under contract under his record label, and they were going to break the contract, and he was basically sending a message to other people underneath him that if you try to leave and break contract, I'll fucking kill you. He's trying to just be like this kind of hard ass in the industry,
right?
And the underground aspect of it. And they figure out throughout the movie that Dwight Yoakam, who is his enforcer, has in the past actually assisted with the killing of Josh Hartnett's dad, who had been killed in action.
He was
his partner. Was he his partner?
It was his partner, and he shot Josh Hartnett's dad twice in the chest.
Yeah, but there wasn't enough evidence, so the case went cold, and Dwight Yoakam was able to continue being a cop, and he's still a dirty cop to this very day because he's an enforcer for Isaiah Washington. So Harrison Ford is chasing after Isaiah Washington, trying to seal the deal so they can stop being investigated by fucking internal affairs. They also found out throughout the investigation that Bruce Greenwood was involved as well. Wasn't he involved in the cover up of his dad's execution from Dwight Yoakam? Because they ended up busting Bruce Greenwood, and I forget what the charge was.
I missed that, and I found that out when I was going back over the plot on Wikipedia today.
Okay, I believe he was involved in assisting with Dwight Yoakam getting off clean without having enough evidence.
That's what it said. Was he the investigating officer? Is that what it was?
I think they brush over it really quick. They talk about it, but it's brushed over very quickly. Where I knew that he was involved, and that's what ends up getting Bruce Greenwood arrested when they kind of save the day.
Because we know he's dirty anyway, because he's setting up false allegations against Harrison Ford so he can bust him.
Although they're not entirely false, because he does have enough to start up the investigation, because Harrison Ford does have all of these clusterfuck financial deals in place, but they're just not strictly illegal.
Except Madame Cleo was a complete lie.
Oh yeah, he kind of strong arms her into false
testimony.
False testifying against Harrison Ford and Hartnett because he was his partner.
Right.
They've split up the chases.
We didn't even talk about Ruby.
Is she the girlfriend of Harrison Ford?
Yeah, and formerly the girlfriend of Bruce Greenwood.
Yeah. She's this late night radio host
Psychic.
where she's a quote unquote psychic, and she talks about how at one point,
She's what
some of the
sets
shit
off
she
the
talks-
car chase.
yeah, she tells them about how, because Josh Hartnett absolutely buys into it being a more spiritual dude than Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford is like, this is complete nonsense, because they're so out of leads. They go to his psychic girlfriend asking her what they can do to try and find Isaiah Washington.
I love what he's like, shopping. She's shopping. Let her shop.
Yeah. Because
Like
Harrison
the
Ford,
way Josh Hartnett says that, like he
Yeah.
leans into his face like he's the bigger man on campus and just goes, let her shop.
yeah, I don't associate Josh Hartnett with comedy at all, but he actually has some pretty funny deliveries throughout the movie in this. where
Between his relationship with Harrison Ford in this movie, it kind of reminds me of Nice Guys a little bit.
well, yeah, I can see that.
Like Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
Their relationship. But yeah, I also love when she's sitting there doing like the crazy, like stupid thing to like center herself, and Harrison Ford's like, this is ridiculous, and Josh Hartnett's just like, shh. And then when he interrupts her, he's just like, God damn it, Joe, like he's pissed off.
Yeah, and so it makes it look like she's about to take them directly to the bad guy, like she saw something in her vision. And she's not wrong, because while she's shopping, Harrison Ford and Josh Hartnett are with her, and Isaiah Washington and Dwight Yoakam just happen to be driving their black Escalade literally across the street, so they're able to start chasing them.
And they're
they find them
so
that way.
shocked they give themselves away. They're just like, hey, Sartain! Sartain! It's Sartain!
It's Sartain. Yeah. So let's run down the ending of Josh Hartnett's chase real quick before we go over to Harrison Ford's. So Josh Hartnett, he's driving the light minivan with the wife and the two kids. I like the scene where he's driving what looks to be about like a head-on collision with a wall, and it's part of a movie set.
Yeah,
And he
and
just
they
like
drives through
at like 60 miles an hour.
yeah, at this point, he's yelling at the kids to actually shut up because he can't take it anymore.
Yeah. He's driving, he's trying to catch up to Dwight Yoakam. He eventually catches up with him, and he kind of corners Dwight Yoakam in an alleyway.
No, Dwight Yoakam cornered him.
Well, he corners Dwight Yoakam in an alleyway, and he's chasing him down the alleyway, thinking that he has him cornered where he can arrest him or shoot him. Because at this point, you don't know, because he talks to Harrison Ford about how he wants vengeance for his dad.
It's
who was
the
killed.
first thing he says when they find out that he was the partner. He's like, I want to kill him. And Harrison Ford's like,
I'm gonna kill him. Yeah. But Dwight Yoakam knows that he's coming. He shoulder checks him and kind of like knocks the one out of him toward Josh Hartnett. Drops his gun. Dwight Yoakam pulls the gun on him, and he has him kind of dead to rights. Josh Hartnett is on his knees in the ground begging for his life. And he's crying. He's like, I don't want to die here. I don't want to die here. And then Dwight Yoakam starts talking shit to him. And he's like, please, for the love of God, don't beg. Your dad didn't beg.
I don't even know how
it.
much, like, some of it is he's talking shit, but the way Dwight Yoakam's character is he's almost as interesting as Harrison Ford and Josh Hartnett themselves, because he's a shitbag, but he takes what he does very seriously. It's almost like he is the stereotypical cop in a cop procedural. You know what I mean? Even though he's dirty.
Yeah, he's very cutthroat about everything. Yeah, he's a really cool character. They did really good picking Dwight Yoakam, because I think Dwight Yoakam is one of those supporting actors who can bring a lot of like flavor and depth to a supporting character without a lot of screen time. Because like he does the same thing in Logan Lucky. He adds a lot to the movie without having to be in it for very long, because he's just so fucking good at being a character actor.
Yeah, he starts saying stuff like don't beg, like have some dignity. Your daddy didn't beg, and your daddy was a good cop, and all this stuff. And then he talks about, what did he say? Like, your daddy didn't beg even when I shot him twice. And like, he's out and out says it somehow. And that's when Josh Hartnett pulls a move on him and gets him down. And Josh Hartnett's facial expression, which he usually doesn't have much, but his facial expression in this scene as he's got the gun on him and he's like raising it up like he's gonna do it and then backing down and gonna do it again and then backs down, because he's got Dwight Yoakam dead to rights. He's got him right in front of him, and Dwight Yoakam even makes the mistake of going for another gun, and each time he does it, he shoots
tells him, "Don't
him.
do it." Hartnett tells him, don't do it, because Hartnett's really great in the scene because, like you said, his eyes show a lot of the fury that, like, he really wants nothing more than to shoot this dude, but he knows it's not the right thing to do, and it's not what his dad would have wanted. His dad would have wanted him to take him in the correct way as a cop, not someone trying to get revenge.
But all he needs to do is wait for him to grab the gun, and then that's it. He could take him out right there, right? Fighting for his life. Mm-hmm. But instead, he shoots him in the arm, and he goes for it again. He shoots him in the arm again. He goes for it again. He shoots him in the arm again. He's like, "Don't stop!"
He shot him
like 4 times.
He shoots him 4 times, and if you look, he actually shoots off one of his fingers.
Jesus!
Right. Yeah, if you look at the scene, Dwight Yoakam is missing one of his fingers on, like, his right hand, while the hand that he was reaching to the gun with. So he has, like, a bullet hole. He has, like, 3 bullet holes in his left arm, up and down his forearm and his shoulder, and he's missing a finger. So he is shot, like, literally 4 fucking times by Josh Hartnett.
And he has had every, right to take him out, because the guy is desperately trying to kill him. Mm-hmm. And he wants to, but he manages to rein it in. And, like, this is probably the best I've ever seen Josh Hartnett is in this scene.
Yeah, he's great, and I like his character a lot. I like that choice they give him, and him kind of, like, honoring the memory of his dad by bringing him in the right way.
Because, like I said, it's cool. Obviously a choice, right? It's not like it just ended up that way. It is obviously a choice because several times he has grounds to take him out.
Oh, yeah. Without any witnesses anywhere, he could have just fucking shot him without even he doesn't even have to wait for him to reach for the gun. He has rights right there with no one around. No one would have questioned him at all for just shooting the dude immediately, regardless of him reaching for a gun at all,
But I feel like one of the stereotypes is, they want to do it the right way, but the villain leaves them no choice kind of thing. And here, that's exactly what's happening. And he's shooting him, but he's not shooting him fatally.
Yeah, and also an awesome little tidbit that I loved about the script for this is the way he's able to catch him on recording is he uses his little tape recorder.
His audition tape.
Yeah. Which they cleverly show him using a few times throughout the movie as he's doing lines from A Streetcar Named Desire into the recorder and then playing it back to hear his performance, and that's the same recorder he uses to get the confession. It's just a cool little.
It literally does not seem important at all. It just seems like a character quirk, and then at the end. He pulls out, he's like, that was the best performance I've ever given, And then he's like, especially at the part you're talking about killing my dad, and, like, he holds up the tape recorder.
Yeah, I absolutely fucking love when movies or TV shows are able to have, like, a Chekhov's gun plot device type thing, like the tape recorder, without you knowing it.
Yeah.
It's just awesome. It's really good writing. And so that's the ending of the Josh Hartnett chase. He's captured Dwight Yoakam and he's taking him into custody. He has his confession on tape now. So Dwight Yoakam's fucked. He's going to prison. So Josh Hartnett's won his chase. So the Harrison Ford chase continues. Also, just real quickly, kudos to all of the stuntmen in this movie. Because some people take some fucking tumbles, dude, where it looks like it hurts.
When Harrison Ford wrecks his bicycle and that person threw the door open to their cab, it really looks like Harrison Ford going over that door, dude.
Yeah. He smacks his head on the side of the car and you're like, oof. Like, there's a few moments on that where I was watching this and I was like, oh, dude, Josh Hartnett fucking falls from, like, the second story.
Oh yeah, he tried to do like a superhero jump on the second story of the mall.
And he fucking does a drop and he lands with his feet. The thing doesn't break and his head, like, whiplashes around where I don't know how the stuntman didn't, like, fucking instantly die. It's
crazy.
Might have,
who knows?
I didn't research the production, so maybe, it was actual Hollywood Homicide. I don't know.
And that's how they found the name for the movie. I kept wanting to say episode. That's what I was struggling with.
There you go. So Harrison Ford is in hot pursuit. After Isaiah Washington, he ends up chasing him up a building. They end up going through this really cool scene where he's chasing him. Isaiah Washington is going up this office building, and Harrison Ford has to go into an elevator trying to get up and beat him to the roof. So Harrison Ford goes into this elevator, and there's like these 4 other women that are in the elevator with him, and they just see Harrison Ford covered in blood, covered in sweat, out of breath, with a fucking gun in his hand, and he answers the fucking phone to continue the real estate bartering, and at the end of it, they're just like terrified.
There's a part where the door starts to open and he starts jamming on the button, and they all move to get out, and the door closes, and then one of them in the back goes, "Shit."
Yeah. And then
That's
at the end of it, he does. At the end of it, they're just looking at him fucking terrified while he has the gun in his hand, like he's about to fucking shoot him, and he's just like, "It's okay. I'm a real estate agent."
Instead of I'm a cop. He views himself, like, even in his own fucking mind, because he, between that and between giving Isaiah Washington earlier on in the movie, his fucking real estate license card, like his business card for that, instead of his card for being a detective, Harrison Ford, even in the middle of the chase after the bad guy, views himself as a real estate broker and not as a cop. It's so good.
It's so good. So he's chasing him through the building still. They have several close calls where Sartain can almost shoot him, but Harrison Ford just happens to dodge it, and they end up fighting all the way up on the roof. They're fucking... I like how much they sell, and it might have been legitimate. Like, you're fucking exhausted watching these chases, because these chases go on forever.
I was going to say, these are not your typical Hollywood chases. These are not your typical Hollywood, like, final fights or final shootouts. It's almost taking a more realistic approach.
Yeah.
In a way, and like they
feel like real dudes.
Exhausted. They are ran down. The fights look like real fights that 2 guys could have on a rooftop. Sartain's a lot more brutal than Harrison Ford. Like, dude, when he's got that steel beam that he's trying to ram through his face.
Yeah, it's crazy, dude.
He jumps from one building to the other. Harrison Ford jumps off one building onto Sartain, and then there's that moment when the 2 cops show up and Sartain jumps back to the first building. And he's just like,
yeah.
Oh.
God, yeah. And Harrison Ford the whole time has that wonderful, irritated Harrison Ford expression the whole time that I adore.
But yeah, they have a straight up fucking fight. And Sartain obviously has the advantage. He's younger, he's stronger, he's more athletic.
And just bigger. He's a lot bigger than Harrison Ford.
And when he comes at Harrison Ford does that move that you see in a lot of movies where he kind of grabs him around the waist and picks him up, but their balance is wrong. He can't slam him to the ground like you always see. Mm-hmm. And instead, because of the flailing and the way they're fighting and everything, it makes him stumble backwards. And he just dumps Sartain off the side of the building. And instantly, as he's starting to fall, Harrison Ford reaches out and tries to save him. Like, he didn't. It wasn't
a finishing move. He didn't intend for this to happen.
Yeah, this is just an accident. This is just part of the fight. And they have, like, this was the big stunt. You can tell is they had like 4 or 5 different shots of this fall.
Of the fall.
But we need to talk sound design, Jeff.
When he oh my god, when he lands, so as he's falling, Sartain lands face first, practically, like 15 floors down into a fucking empty trash bin. And I can't even put into words the nightmares I'm gonna have tonight hearing that. I don't even know how to replicate it, but he just smacks the shit at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and you just hear him liquefy in real time, dude. It's fucking
it's
brutal.
like in Sonic Adventure 2, and you run into the side of a building, and he just goes paper thin and peels off the wall.
Because like I was grimacing at like the moment where the Harrison Ford stunt double smacks his fucking head on the side of the car, when the Josh Hartnett stunt double became a Hollywood homicide and fucking fell to his death in the mall. But this just splat sound effect, dude, will haunt me till the end of my days.
And
Jesus.
The irony of this garbage person falling into an empty trash bin.
Yeah.
By the way.
And then doesn't like Harrison Ford come down to the ground level outside next to the trash bin, and they never show it. Which is perfect. Which is perfect because
all you
your
need was that
imagination,
sound.
your imagination combined with that sound of him face planting that fucking empty trash bin is basically almost Lovecraftian, dude. It's like they make a lot of really good choices in this movie when it comes to character development, subtle character exposition, not showing the dude who's now liquefied in a puddle in the trash container.
I love
it's just awesome.
I love when the guy, around the time the one cop for some reason asked if they wanted him to squeegee off of the bottom of the of the trash bin. He's like, no, leave him for the coroner. But that's when
the coroner.
That's when KC walks up and he's like, hey, what happened to Sartain? And he just and then hits the side of the
yeah, he knocks on the side of the trash bin.
The trash bin.
Oh no! He does the and then knocks on the side. He does like the whistle as the like someone falling.
I think our audio setup. I couldn't hear you whistle, and you obviously didn't hear me whistle. We both did the whistle.
Oh yeah, we had too good of a noise gate going.
Our noise gate's not picking it up.
Nice. So and then Harrison Ford sees that Josh Hartnett has not killed Dwight Yoakam, that he's taken him into custody.
And he gives him
even
props
though he's
for
like surrounded in like his whole body is covered in bandages from the fucking Punisher level of bullets that he fucking unloaded into him, dude.
He
and
looks
just,
like
doesn't
Frank
he say,
Castle interrogated him.
Yeah. And doesn't he say like, like good job to Josh Hartnett or something like that? Like he's legitimately proud of him that he didn't kill him, that he took him in,
that he did the right thing, and then. That's when, you think it's wrapping up and Bruce Greenwood drives up and you're just like, oh shit, this asshole again.
Yeah.
And he's calling for their arrest and he wants them separated. He doesn't want them talking to each other. And then what happens instead is Keith David is like, oh, I was the one arresting you. And they arrest Bruce Greenwood instead.
Yeah. And they arrest Bruce Greenwood, throw him in the back of the police car. Bruce Greenwood has this like fucking stare that could kill a man as he's being loaded into the car. And that's the end of the investigation. They've figured out who has taken out the rapper group. They have solved the mystery of who would kill Josh Hartnett's dad. They are now they're good from IA. Because they were able to implicate, Bruce Greenwood, how he was involved in the murder of Josh Hartnett's dad. So it's all very like prototypical, like police procedural. The good guys win. Essentially, like they've gotten fucked up and they're fucking exhausted, but they've won the day.
The guy that has all the money and power and probably would walk fell to his death, and then the dirty cop that was the enforcer and he killed Josh Hartnett's dad and all that stuff. Like, they've got too much on him at this point, pretty much. He's pretty much going away. Like, the way that it wraps up, I always loved. Because Sartain was going to get out of it. He's just too wealthy, too connected, too powerful.
Yep.
And, it wasn't a fight to the death. It was just an unfortunate mishap that he happened to fall to his death. Because again, he couldn't just run away. He couldn't just get away. I don't know where he'd go. His face is all over the news now, but he couldn't just try to get away. He had to try to take out Harrison Ford.
Yep.
And if he hadn't done that, he wouldn't be a puddle at the bottom of a trash can.
Oh, that sound effect, dude. I wish I had a recording of my face as I watched that happen, because oh no, not because you think they might, because you don't know what's gonna happen either, because like the camera is following him down where you think they might just cut away.
Yeah.
But no, they cut out all of the dramatic like music and you hear nothing but that fucking curse splat sound effect of him hitting that trash, but you're just like, damn, that's
almost
brutal.
like a gong. It's almost like a really deep gong or bell. And
they should have won the Oscar for sound design off of that one fucking curse splat, dude. It's fantastic.
When the movie wrapped up, all I could imagine was you curling up into a ball in your recliner and just rocking back and forth to that sound effect, because that's what I wanted to do when I heard it.
It is not one that you can just walk away from lightly, dude. It's crazy. So they've won the day. They've solved the case. All the cases involved. So the penultimate scene of the film is Josh Hartnett is he's still throwing on his performance of A Streetcar Named Desire with Harrison Ford and his girlfriend
How
there.
did you feel about this scene?
With them at the performance?
Yeah.
I like it just because of the bit with Harrison Ford talking shit to the dude who's about to walk out, where
Right.
he's like, because I like that bit where he's now not only really good friends with Josh Hartnett, but he views him almost like his son, like his own son. I like that little bit. I think they probably go on a little bit too long with showing their performance, I think.
I agree.
But I don't hate the scene. I don't
know if that's because like he's supposed to be really bad, but it just looks like Josh Hartnett acting to me. Or
He's not bad. He's
Yeah.
not bad. He's not good, but he's not bad. So
But because, like, watching it last night, I was like, never really thought about it, but it's kind of an odd scene, especially since they just kind of cut to it. Like, they didn't know where else to put it. And
I don't think it's an odd scene. I think it's edited together oddly.
And then, I was like thinking about if I was going to cut stuff, what would I cut? And I had that in the list. And then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, but if you did that, it would be like the shawarma line in Avengers, right? Like, we've been talking about this performance. We've been trying to get people to come to it throughout the entire movie, the way Gavilan's been trying to sell real estate. And
I wouldn't have cut that scene. I think what needed to be cut was stuff from the first hour of the film, because there's giant, like the scenes with Harrison Ford and the psychic lady go on a little bit too long. That could have been trimmed. They have scenes that go on with like Josh Hartnett. And, like, we've established the fact that Josh Hartnett is a stud and can basically, like, get laid at will. They didn't need to have the scene of him going back to his apartment and the lady being in the hot tub. Like, that's like, we've established that. They over-establish certain character elements a lot in the first half, where if they could have trimmed 10 minutes out of the first half of the movie and just made it go by a little bit quicker, because like the star of the movie is the last like 40-minute just endless car chase and bicycle chase and foot chase. Like, that's the star of the movie to me. Because like for the first half of this movie, I was kind of indifferent on this movie. I was just like, it's not bad. I like Harrison Ford and Josh Hartnett, obviously, and I like their characters in this, and I like their relationship with their two characters, but the pacing is just very janky for me at times, and I think the editing could have been better. But overall, because of how strongly I liked the last 40 minutes or so, I still like this movie quite a bit.
Yeah, like I was saying, I feel like if you cut it would end up being like the shawarma scene, right? Like the shawarma line where no one felt like there was any payoff to anything.
Yeah,
and they had to go back. That's kind of where I landed on it after thinking about it. But yeah, it. I don't know. I enjoy the characters enough that I really don't have that much of an issue with the pacing, but I can understand feeling like it's slow or needs to be shorter. I can totally see that.
It's just
this is
like,
an oddball movie.
It's just that I think like a good portion of the reason people walked away from this movie feeling like blah about it is this chase is so awesome in the second half of the movie. The second half of the movie is so good, but from like a first time viewer perspective, I was just kind of sitting there watching like a mediocre Law and Order episode that just happened to have like really good characters and performances out of Harrison Ford and Josh Hartnett and some cool supporting actors. Because like I was just kind of like, because like we were talking about, they use the murder purely as a plot device. So when they spend so much time investigating it and repeating character elements like the Josh Hartnett thing with the other, like he ends up having sex with how many fucking students? Like, we get it. You don't need to do it 3 times,
Yeah.
So I agree. I think they needed to include the performance. I think they should have just made it a shorter sequence.
Although
they just meander in it too long.
Although the hot tub scene is almost worth it just for the Dominique. Close enough.
Yeah, that's a good line. That is a good line. I will give them that.
She's just like, close enough.
Yeah, because that was a joke until that payoff with her saying that with that character.
That was a tired old joke until then.
That was a tired fucking joke that I was like, oh my god, I get it. Stop. I know Josh Hartnett can't get laid at will. We have established this like 12 times over by this point, so just like move on. But yeah.
Did we completely gloss over the cameo at the police station at the beginning?
The Monty Python dude?
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I have never needed to pay for sex, okay? Hey. Oh, hey, Gloria.
Yeah, that's pretty great. It's such a random cameo, but it's really funny.
Yeah, it was so random. There's a ton of random cameos. Like fucking what's the guy that everybody thinks murdered Natalie Wood? I can't think of his name. Number 2.
Robert Wagner?
Yes, Robert Wagner. Yeah. Him.
Oh yeah, he's getting his star in the Hollywood Walk of Fame during the chase.
The police chase, the car chase at
great.
the end.
Yeah. I like that bit too. Dude, like seriously, second half of this movie is awesome.
It's
awesome so
and
batshit and awesome in like the most crazy ways, and I just love it.
Yeah, I can tell.
So they have the performance of the play with Josh Hartnett, and then it gets interrupted because Josh Hartnett and Harrison Ford both receive calls in the middle of the play. They have to leave to go investigate another homicide, and that's when that's the moment you've learned, because you don't know how much time has passed. You could ostensibly believe that in this last day or so,
Idle. That was going to drive me nuts. Eric Idle.
What was it?
Eric Idle.
Oh, the Monty Python dude. Yeah,
that was going to drive me absolutely insane.
So it's been a few days until the play, so you don't know in that time that's passed if Josh Hartnett, because he's been talking about retiring a lot from being a cop because he doesn't really want to be a cop. That's what he says a few times. But when the call comes through and he gets the same call as Harrison Ford, you realize he stayed on the force and he's decided to remain on as a detective with Harrison Ford.
Yeah, he has a line about how he doesn't think he's that good of an actor, and Harrison Ford's like, "No, I thought you were pretty good." And then
that's it. This is the final scene where they're at the crime they get called to.
Yes, and then the line that I love, because again, it tells you everything you need to know without kind of overstating or overstaying, is when Harrison Ford goes to order the burger, and instead of all the crazy food that he wanted at the beginning, he just says, "I'll have the same."
Mm-hmm.
Because at the beginning, as I took that as he's kind of ditching the spiritual stuff too. Because at the beginning, he wanted like bean sprouts and all this stuff and this crazy ass sandwich. And at the end, he's just like, "Yeah, I'll have the same." After Harrison Ford orders his burger, and I really like that part. I like
that part. It says a lot with very little.
Yeah,
which is good writing. I also I love the fact that if you pay attention, after they've done the like movie ending zoom out and showing them from a wide shot, Harrison Ford does his signature lean down, and then Josh Hartnett also does the lean down next to him. It's like, oh, it's like.
Yeah, it's almost like you're looking at father and son at the end.
It's so good. I love their dynamic.
I also love the way it wrapped it up, because you could leave it there and it's a perfect ending, or if you ever did a sequel, you could pick up there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wonder because of how good Harrison Ford and Josh Hartnett's like chemistry is, even though they're a real odd couple when it comes to casting. Like especially for this type of movie. I wonder if they were doing like combo auditions, like how sometimes they audition actors alone, and then sometimes they have them specifically playing off with the actor that's already been cast.
Mm-hmm.
And I assume Harrison Ford would have been the first one picked, and I wonder if they were doing those kind of like duo auditions.
I feel like Harrison Ford would have already been locked in, and he would have been like screen testing with people. Yeah,
seeing who plays well off of Harrison Ford, and they play off really well together. Yeah, and that's the movie. And
Keith David wasn't even in it 5 minutes, but it was awesome every time he was in it. Just because the way he says his lines. Like,
Keith David is just fucking awesome in everything. I love him.
The way he says it when he's like, "They're called H2 or Click. Don't ask me why." And the way he says it.
He's the best. So did you come across any behind-the-scenes production tidbits? Because I did not.
I did not either. There's not a lot known about this, I guess. I mean, it says on Wikipedia that originally it was supposed to be John Travolta and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. But
really?
But eventually Harrison Ford and Josh Hartnett signed on. And it also says that Ford and Hartnett just did not get along the entire time. Yeah.
Oof, that sucks. Well, they did a good job acting, because I actually felt like they liked each other by the ending of the movie.
Right. Apparently, it was reported several times that Ford would refer to Hartnett as a punk, while Hartnett would refer to him as an old fart.
Oh, wow.
So, apparently it got heated, I guess? Question mark?
That could be part of the reason why you have flipped lines from Harrison Ford, because maybe they were not trying to test how many takes they were giving Harrison Ford if it was like an edgy set and like tension on set, you know.
Maybe.
Because I wouldn't. I'm just saying I wouldn't want to, unless I was Steven Spielberg. I wouldn't feel comfortable asking for another take from Harrison Ford, because you never know. He just like gives you like the fucking finger point of doom and just choose your ass out because he's Harrison Ford. And
especially 2003 Harrison Ford, when like he's household name. I mean, he's done even 3 Star Wars. He's done 3 Indiana Jones. He was a household fucking name and a legend after Star Wars, and then Indiana Jones was just like the cherry on top. Like, he's fucking Harrison Ford. Like, you gonna tell Indiana Jones to do another take?
Yeah, it's I do not blame
we
them
know he'll shoot first.
That's true, unless you're talking about some of the unfortunate McClunky edits that have happened in the past 20 years. McClunky.
How long before they're just using walkie-talkies to shoot each other in that scene?
God damn, I love that South Park episode. It's great. So yeah, that is Hollywood Homicide. Did you have any other kind of wrap-up thoughts? I've pretty much now at this point gone through what I had as notes, so I don't really have anything else to touch on. I will just reiterate, the first half of the movie, if you are someone who didn't watch it in the lead up to this episode to like kind of listen to it being reviewed and just kind of like, where I don't really feel like watching this, I recommend watching it. And, you know, if you're not feeling the movie, stick with it until the second half, because it does get dramatically better. And I think the second half of this movie really
changes genres.
Yeah, because the first half of the movie just feels like a very not terrible, but a mediocre Law and Order episode.
It's procedural with screwball characters in the first half.
Yeah.
And then it just flat out turns into an action comedy almost.
It turns into a Shane Black film.
Basically.
It like the second half of this movie feels like The Nice Guys to me. It's like that wacky buddy cop movie that is fucking batshit in the best ways, but has 2 likable leads along the way, so you actually kind of give a shit. But the first half of the movie is like, maybe they went overboard with making it an homage to Columbo and detective police procedurals in that instance. But yeah, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Other than at some point we got to get Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and Nice Guys on this show.
The Nice Guys, fuck, dude. We just need to do a Shane Black like summer, like just all of Shane Black's, just kind of his whole repertoire, dude. So good. I adore me some Shane Black. So yeah, if you would like to check us out more, you can always subscribe to us. We're available on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Podcasts. If you kind of just search around, you should be able to find us. If you Google Screenplay Rewind, I think our Spotify link is the first hit you can get. You can follow us on Twitter. It's at SPR Filmcast. You can get show updates and just random musings from myself.
When you tried to get our Twitter handle, did your neighbors in your apartment complex hear that thud that Isaiah Washington made as you just slam your head into the desk? Yeah, it's a thing. I've kind of grown to accept it, and I kind of like SPR Filmcast. I'm never not going to laugh just because of how pissed off you were. There's a story. There's a fucking story behind it, dude. Because, like, first the fucking original name of the podcast gets yoinked. And then the fucking name of the new podcast we're going with is one character too long for the Twitter handle. So I'm just like, why does the universe hate me? I just remember the fuck you Twitter text message I got. Yeah, I was frustrated, but you know, with time, it is now okay. So we do these typically every other week. So you have time to check out this next movie I'm going to be picking, because Hollywood Homicide was Ron's. My next movie we are going to be covering, drumroll, we are going to be covering Jojo Rabbit. Oh my god. Oh boy, is Jojo Rabbit fucking batshit, and I love it, and I'm excited to talk about it. I have not seen it. I have seen the trailers. I have heard people talk about it on various podcasts. It is apparently batshit nutty insane. And I love it. And I'm excited to talk about it. Because I knew Ron. Right? Do what? Taika Waititi, yeah. He wrote... Isn't he Hitler himself? He is playing
Hitler himself. And he is not only Hitler, but he is the imaginary friend of a little kid in the Hitler Youth. So he is playing a fucking little kid's imaginary friend version of Hitler, and it's fucking amazing in all the best ways, and I can't wait for you to watch it, because I knew you hadn't seen it. This was a movie I had checked out when it hit streaming services a few months back, and I fucking love the shit out of it. And I knew Ron hadn't seen it, so I like introducing movies to him whenever possible I think you'd like. And this movie is just
not
so
what
fun.
I thought was coming out of your mouth.
Did you have anything that you were thinking of?
Nothing in particular. I just thought something a little more, like Pitch Black or something. And then Jojo Rabbit, just, oh, God.
Yeah, I love it. I can't wait to talk about it. So, yeah, it is available on HBO Max for streaming.
That's what I was thinking. That was what I was going to ask.
So, pretty much everyone in the world has HBO Max right now because of Wonder Woman, at least on a trial right now. So people should be able to get easy access to it. It's on HBO Max. I can quickly check. So that's the one that it's available just regularly, and it is available on other platforms if you don't have HBO Max or no longer have access to a trial to it.
But you should totally grab HBO Max, watch Wonder Woman 84, and then check out our podcast on it.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So you can get a kind of little double whammy through it.
Double dose.
So yeah, it's available through HBO Max, HBO Now through Amazon, and it looks like it is available for digital purchase through Google Play, YouTube, and stuff like that. And so yeah, I highly recommend checking it out so you can watch it, because obviously, as we almost forget to mention on the beginning of every episode, we will go into spoilers to cover it.
Yes.
So yeah, Jojo Rabbit. Coming to you in 2 weeks, courtesy
of
this point,
the
Screenplay Rewind.
Thing is a meme.
Yeah, we probably need
how many
a
episodes
drop.
we've done now.
Yeah, one of my favorite spoiler warnings ever is in the Junk Food Cinema podcast. I don't think they do it anymore because they just kind of ran the joke into the ground. But their spoiler warning used to be that stinger from Kill Bill, where it would just grind the movie to a halt and go brr, 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 brr. And that was their little stinger warning for the spoilers, which I always enjoyed.
Tested has a literal sign, because they do YouTube video also. They have a literal sign that Norm sits on his desk and turns the light on it that says spoilers, and that stays on for 5 minutes. And then once 5 minutes is up, he turns it off, and they can't talk spoilers anymore.
Nice.
It works real great on audio-only podcast.
Yes. I bet. So yeah, we appreciate you listening, and have a good one.